कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासुदि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासुदि गौर भक्त वृंद। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासुदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदानेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। बोलो श्री राधे गोलोकानंद भगवान की जय। बोलो श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। हरे कृष्णा निशा।
हरे कृष्णा।
हरे कृष्णा। आज सब लोग लगता है रिपब्लिकन डिबेट देख रहे हैं।
पर वो 10 बजे से शुरू है।
तो 10 बजे से शुरू है क्या? ओह अच्छा, आई थॉट इट वाज 9 o'clock और समथिंग। अच्छा
ओ
ऐसे।
मे बी आई थॉट 10 बजे से 10 बजे से।
अच्छा अच्छा अच्छा, मे बी एनीवेज। अच्छा ठीक है, कोई नहीं, शुरू करते हैं हम लोग। कैसे चल रहा है सब?
बिल्कुल बढ़िया।
ठीक है, थिंग्स आर बैक इन।
एकादशी आज है कल है?
कई लोग कल भी कर रहे हैं बट कई जगह पे आज ही है। मैंने तो आज ही करी है। कल कर रहे हो क्या तुम?
हम्म।
या कई जन कल भी कर रहे हैं ऐसा सीमा बता रही थी। तो मैं तो सीमा जो बोलती हूँ तभी कर लेता
अच्छा।
हूँ। उसने कई कैलेंडर देखे, बोले आज ही है, तो मैं ठीक है। या और इस्कॉन के कैलेंडर में एक दिन पहले भी होती है बट शी सेड कि सारे कैलेंडर में आज ही है, तो आई डोंट नो, मे बी। वो आजकल क्या हो, तब से चल रहा है 2 दिन का, और रात से रात होती है ना,
हाँ हाँ।
तो चंद्रमा के हिसाब से तिथि हैज बीन
या हर
दो
चीज
दिन
दो दो 2 दिन आ
हाँ।
रही है इससे।
तो ठीक है, आई थिंक इट्स फाइन। अच्छा है, दोनों दिन भी कर सकते हैं जो कर सकते
फरियाल खा के।
हैं। आई नो मेरे जैसे तो पूरा खाना खा के सब खा के। कोई नहीं, चलो शुरू करते हैं। हम्म, तो कल हम लोग ऑफ कोर्स वी आर रीडिंग कैंटो 6, और 6th कैंटो में हम लोग कल चैप्टर 9 कंप्लीट करें, अपीयरेंस ऑफ डेमन वित्रासुर। तो जैसा कि हम लोग पढ़ रहे थे, त्वष्टा हु इज द फादर ऑफ ऋषि विश्वरूप, he does yajna to take revenge from Indradev because Indradev killed Rishi Vishwarup, and then he थोड़े मंत्रों में the pause is greater and all that, the mantra have to be perfect when they are doing it in the yajna, and so because of that Vritrasur appeared, right? The demon Vritrasur appeared, and he was very difficult to handle for Devtas. So then Devtas did the prayers of Lord Vishnu, right? So Devtas did the prayers of Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu appeared, and then Lord Vishnu advised the Devtas to go to Dadichi Muni. Yeah, if you remember. So Devtas go to Dadichi Muni to ask for his body. Because what Lord Vishnu said is, you go to Dadichi Muni, he has the origin of Narayan Kavach, his body, and then Vishwakarma will help in creating the Vraj, and that Vraj is how you can create how can you win over Vritrasur. That's the only way. So they go to Dadichi Muni, and that's what we are reading right now, right? So we are starting chapter 10, which is about the battle between Devtas and Vritrasur. So we'll start with the text 1. Yeah, Nisha.
श्रीबादरायणी उवाच इन्द्रमेवं समादिश्य भगवान् विश्वभावनः पश्यन्त्या मणिमेषाणां तत्रैवान्तर्दधे हरिः। Sri Sukadev Goswami said, after instructing Indra in this way, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Hari, the cause of cosmic manifestation, then and there disappeared from the presence of the overlooking demigods. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? So Lord Vishnu बताते हैं देवता को क्या करना है, and then he disappears and he says that Hari, who is the cause of cosmic, first of all, Sukhdev Goswami ji, right? His alternative name is also Badrayani, Sri Badrayani Ru, right? So Sukhdev Goswami is also known as Sri Badrayani Ru, and he's saying the Supreme Person who is the cause of cosmic manifestation says here Vishwa Bhavana hai, Bhagwan Vishwa Bhavana hai, and then Antardhare Hari hai, like so Antardhan ho jate hain, he disappears from the presence of Devtas. तथाभियाचितो देवे ऋषिरार्थवर्णो महान् मोदमानुवाचेदं प्रहसन्निव भारत. O King Parikshit, following the Lord's instructions, the demigods approached Dadichi, the son of Atharva. He was very liberal, and when they begged him to give them his body, he at once partially agreed. However, just to hear religious instructions from them, he smiled and jokingly spoke as follows. Yeah. So they go to Dadichi Muni and says that he is the son of Atharvano. Yeah. He's Dadichi Muni, son of Atharvano, and then he starts speaking. So, sure.
Api vrindaraka yuyam na janita shariranam sanstayam yatsa bidroho dussah chetana paha. O elevated demigods, at the time of death, severe unbearable pain takes away the consciousness of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Don't you know about this pain? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Devtas बोल उसके शरीर के लिए बोलते हैं. So he's saying कि शरीर के टाइम पे there is a pain which happens, right? Because the consciousness is going away, and don't you understand that pain? Is what Dadichi Muni is telling to Devtas. जी विशूनाम जीवान आत्माम प्रेष्टैहेप्सित क उत्सहे तम दातुम भिक्षमानाय विष्णवे. In this material world, every living entity is very much addicted to his material body, struggling to keep his body forever. Everyone tries to protect it by all means, even at the sacrifice of all his possessions. Therefore, who would be prepared to deliver his body to anyone, even if it were demanded by Lord Vishnu? Yeah. So what Dadichi Muni is saying is that every Jivan Atma, right? Everyone loves their bodies, right? So including all animals or anyone's, like all kind of species, they love their material body, right? So if that is the case, who will be delivering his body to anyone, even if Lord Vishnu is asking? Even Dhatu means Dan, Bhikshamanaya Vishnave. Like even if Lord Vishnu is asking for somebody's body, they would not want to give it, because that's what everyone loves in this materialistic world. No?
Shri Deva Uchaha Kim nu tada dustajam brahmana punsam bhutanu kampinam bhavadvidhanam mahatam punya shlokedya karmanam. The demigods replied, O exalted Brahman, pious persons like you, whose activities are praiseworthy, are very kind and affectionate to people in general. What can such pious souls give for the benefit of others? They can give everything, including their bodies. Hare Krishna.
So देवता बता रहे हैं ददीची मुनि को कि जो pious souls हैं, they can give anything, including their bodies, is what Devtas are replying, right? Punya shloke de karmanam. जो पुण्य श्लोक हैं, जो उत्तम souls हैं, pious souls, they can do anything for the benefit of others. नूनम स्वार्थ परो लोको न वेद पर संकटम यदि वेद न याचेत नेति नाह यदीश्वर. Those who are too self-interested beg something from others, not knowing of others' pain. But if the beggar knew the difficulty of the giver, he would not ask for anything. Similarly, he who is able to give charity does not know the beggar's difficulty, for otherwise he would not refuse to give the beggar anything he might want as a charity. Yeah. So, so basically what's being mentioned is, if someone already knows the person who is going to give his pain, then they would not ask for anything, and vice versa. So nice purport in this case. So let's read this, Nisha.
This verse describes two people, one who gives charity and one who begs for it. A beggar should not ask charity from a person who is in difficulty. Similarly, one who is able to give charity should not deny a beggar. These are the moral instructions of Shastra. Chanakya Pandit says, San nimitte varam tyago vinase niyate sati. Everything within this material world will be destroyed, and therefore one should use everything for good purposes. If one is advanced in knowledge, he must always be prepared to sacrifice anything for a better cause. At the present moment, the entire world is in dangerous position under the spell of godless civilization. The Krishna consciousness movement needs many exalted, learned persons who will sacrifice their lives to revive God consciousness throughout the world. We therefore invite all men and women advanced in knowledge to join the Krishna consciousness movement and sacrifice their lives for the great cause of reviving the God consciousness of human society. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what is being mentioned here is, what is the biggest charity one who can give, right? The charity is not just like offering food for someone or sponsoring the hunger, which are all good causes, right? They're all good causes, but the most important cause is to revive the God consciousness, because that's how people can do the self-realization. That's how they can understand themselves, because everything within this material world is going to be destroyed, right? So the best cause is...
एक सेकेंड
आराम से, हाँ.
locked, sorry.
Oh, okay. So the most important part is the Krishna consciousness, right? If the Krishna consciousness can be given to everyone, that can be the biggest charity. So what is being mentioned? Okay.
श्री ऋषिरुवाच धर्मं वः श्रोतु कामेन यूयं ये प्रत्युदाहृताः एष वः प्रियमात्मानं त्यजन्तं संत्यजाम्यहम्. The great sage Dadichi said, just to hear from you about religious principles, I refuse to offer my body at your request. Now, although my body is extremely dear to me, I must give it up for your better purposes, since I know that it will leave me today or tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So what Dadichi Muni is now saying is, he initially says no to Devtas just to hear the religious principles. And the religious principles were what we just heard. Like, how can someone give charity and not give a charity and all that, right? And then he's saying, right, dharma va, so dharma sunne ke liye. And then he's saying that even though priyam atmanam, right, he loves his body, but for the Devtas, he's going to give it up for the better purposes. यो अध्रुवेनात्मना नाथा न धर्म न यश कुमार इहेत भूत दयास सोच्य है स्थावरेरपि. O demigods, one who has no compassion for humanity in its suffering and does not sacrifice his impermanent body for the higher causes of religious principles or eternal glory is certainly pitied even by the immovable beings, right? So people who cannot do the right things at the right time, says here, socha sta varirapi, like even the jad kind of things will be not happy with such beings. And actually, it's a very nice purport. So let's read this.
In this regard, a very exalted example was set by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis of Vrindavan. Concerning Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.34, Tyaktva Sudustayaja Surepspita Rajya Lakshmin Dharmishta Arya Vachasa Yad Agad Aranyam Maya Mragam Daivitipesitam Anavadhavad Vande Maha Purusha Te Charana Sharanarindam. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whose even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. To accept sannyasa means to commit civil suicide, but sannyasa is compulsory, at least for every Brahman, every first-class human being. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a very young and beautiful wife and a very affectionate mother. Indeed, the affectionate dealing of his family members were so pleasing that even the demigods could not expect such happiness at home. Nevertheless, for the deliverance of all the fallen souls of the world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and left home when he was only 24 years old. He lived a very strict life of sannyasi, refusing all bodily comforts. Similarly, his disciples, the sixth Goswamis, were ministers who held exalted position in society, but they also left everything to join the movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srinivasa Acharya says.
Srinivasa Acharya says, Vyakta Turnam Asesha Mandala Pati Shrenim Sada Uchavat Bhutva Dina Ganeshaku Karunaya Kopina Kanta Shvetau. These Goswamis left their very comfortable lives as ministers, jamidars, and learned scholars and joined Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement just to show mercy to the fallen souls of the world. Ditna Ganeshaku Karunaya, accepting very humble lives as mendicants, wearing no more than loincloths and torn quilts. Kopina Kanta, they lived in Vrindavan and followed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's order to excavate Vrindavan's lost glories. Similarly, everyone else with a materially comfortable condition in this world should join the Krishna conscious movement to elevate the fallen souls. The words Bhut Dayaya Maya Mrigam Detya Yepsitam and Deen Ganeshaku Karunaya all convey the same sense. These are very significant words for those interested in elevating human society to a proper understanding of life. One should join the Krishna consciousness movement, following the examples of such great personalities as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the six Goswamis, and before them the great sage Dadichi. Instead of wasting one's life for temporarily bodily comforts, one should always be prepared to give up one's life for better causes. After all, the body will be destroyed. Therefore, one should sacrifice it for the glory of distributing religious principles throughout the world. Right? So what is being mentioned with the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and like Dadichi Muni, who sacrifice themselves for the bigger causes.
एतावान्न व्ययो धर्मः पुण्यश्लोके रूपासितः यो भूतशोक हर्षाभ्यामात्मा शोचति हृषति. If one is unhappy to see the distress of other living beings and happy to see their happiness, his religious principles are appreciated as imperishable by exalted persons who are considered pious and benevolent. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. अहो दैन्यमहो कष्टं पारत्यक्षं भङ्गुरे यन्नोपकुर्याद स्वार्थं मृत्यः स्वज्ञाति विग्रहे. This body, which is eatable by jackals and dogs after death, does not actually do any good for me, the spirit soul. It is usable only for a short time and may perish at any moment. The body and its possessions, its riches and relatives must all be engaged for the benefit of others, or else they will be sources of tribulation and misery. Right? So this is what Dadichi Muni is saying.
श्री बादरायणीरुवाच एवं कृत्य व्यवसितो दध्यन्नाथर्वणस्तुनं परे भगवती ब्रह्मण्यात्मानं संन्यज्य. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Dadichi Muni, the son of Atharva, thus resolved to give his body to the service of the demigods. He placed himself, the spirit soul, at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in this way gave up his gross material body made of 5 elements.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? So Dadichi Muni, right? So Dadichi Muni, he placed his spirit soul at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Pare Bhagavati Brahmane Atmanam. Yeah. And then this way he gave up his gross body. So gross material body is the Sthul Sharir, right? Sthul Sharir is made up of 5 elements. And what are those 5 elements? The Panchatattva, right? Your Sharir is made up of the 5 elements, right? What are the Panchatattva elements? Agni,
Agni, Jal, Vayu, Prithvi,
yeah, and Akash.
Akash.
Yeah. So those are the 5 elements, which is called Panchatattva, and that's the gross material body. That is the Sthul Sharir. And then we have Suksham Sharir, right? The Suksham Sharir has 3 elements, which is
ignorance,
ego,
and mind,
man, yeah, man, buddhi, and ahankar. Right? So man is the mind, buddhi is the intelligence, and ahankar is the self-ego. So man, buddhi, and ahankar, that's a Suksham Sharir, and then under that you have the soul, right? Atma. So that is what is being said, like the spirit soul is surrendered at the Pare Bhagavati Brahmane Atma, right? So at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Dadichi Muni, he surrendered his soul, so he didn't even bother about his gross body and Sthul Sharir and Suksham Sharir, right? And actually, it's a nice purport. So let's read this.
As indicated by the words Pare Bhagavati Brahmane Atmanam Sannayan, Dadichi placed himself as a spirit soul at the lotus feet of Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this regard, one may refer to the incident of Dhritarashtra's leaving his body as described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 1.13.55. Dasharatha Dhritarashtra analytically divided his gross material body into the 5 different elements in which it was made: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and distributed them into the different reservoirs of these elements. In other words, he merged these 5 elements into the original Mahatattva. By identifying his material conception of life, he gradually separated his spirit soul from material connections and placed himself at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The example given in this connection is that when an earthen pot is broken, the small portion of the sky within the pot is united with the large sky outside the pot. Mayavadi philosophers misunderstand this description of the Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna. But the important part mentioned here is, like, by identifying the material conception of life, the Dadichi Muni separated his spirit soul from the material connections and placed himself at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And it says here, therefore, Sri Ramanujaya Swami in his book Vedanta Tattvasara has described that this merging of the soul means that after separating himself from the material body made of 8 elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, then false ego, mind and intelligence, right? Combination of Sthul Sharir and the Suksham Sharir, the individual soul engages himself in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his eternal form. Sarva Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karan Karana. The material cause of the material elements absorbs the material body, and the spirit soul assumes its original position. As described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jevera Swarup Aya Krishnera Nitya Dasa. The constitutional position of the living entity is that he is the eternal servant of Krishna. When one overcomes the material body through cultivation of spiritual knowledge and devotional service, one can revive his own position and thus engage in the service of the Lord. Yeah? Hare Krishna. So what is being mentioned is, with the devotional service, gaining spiritual knowledge, one can revive the own position. What is the own position? That's the original position of the soul itself, the Sat Chit Anand Swarup of the soul in the Vaikuntha Lok. Currently what we have, like we are the conditioned souls, all these bodies are temporary body, right? And those bodies are materialistic body. It's not the original Swarup of our soul. But by cultivation of spiritual knowledge and devotional service, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Archanam, one can revive the own position and engage in the service of the Lord, which is our original position. This is what is being mentioned, right? Whatever.
Yataksha sumano buddhi stattvadriga dhvasta bandhana astitah param yogam na deham bubhude gatam. Dadichi Muni controlled his senses, life force and mind and intelligence and became absorbed in trance. Thus he cut all the material bonds. He could not perceive how his material body became separated from his self. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So interestingly is described like Dadichi Muni, yeah, how he controlled everything, his senses, life force, mind and intelligence. Says here, Yata Aksha. Aksha is the senses. Asu is the life force, right? The pranvayu, and man and buddhi. So he controlled all this, and by controlling all this, he dhvast bandhana hai. So he separated from all the bandhans, all the materialistic bonds, and then astitah paramam yogam na deham bubhudegatam, na deham bubhudegatam. Then he had no idea about his materialistic body. He was into his soul, surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? So we'll just read this. So the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Antakale cha mam iva Shmranam Mukta Kalevaram. Yeh Prayati sa Madbhutam. Yati Nasti Atra Samshaya hai. Atra Sansaya hai. Whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Of course, one must practice before one is overcome by death. But the perfect yogi, namely the devotee, dies in trance thinking of Krishna. He does not feel his material body being separated from his soul. The soul is immediately transferred to the spiritual world. Tyaktva deham punarjanma neti mam iti. The soul does not enter the womb of a material mother again, but is transferred back home, back to Godhead. Right? Is what Sri Krishna Bhagavan is saying in Bhagavad Gita itself. Right? Let's read this much again. Isha.
This yoga, Bhakti Yoga, is the highest yoga system as explained by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham mada gatenantaratmana shraddhavana bhajate yo mama same yuktamo matah. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The Bhakti Yogi always thinks of Krishna, and therefore at the time of the death he can very easily transfer himself to Krishna Lok without even perceiving the pains of death. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so all this is being mentioned by Lord Shri Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Athendro Varjamuddhamya Nirmitam Vishwakarmana Muneha Shakti Bhiruchitto Bhagavate Jasanvita Vrito Dev Gane Sarve Gajendro Paryashobhute Istuyamano Muni Gane Istre Lokyam Harsi Aniva. Thereafter, King Indra very firmly took up the thunderbolt manufactured by Vishwakarma from the bones of Dadichi. Charged with the exalted power of Dadichi Muni and enlightened by the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Indra rode on the back of his carrier, Airavat, surrounded by all the demigods. While all the great sages offered him praise, thus he shone very beautifully, pleasing the three worlds as he rode off to kill Vritrasur. Yeah. So Dadichi Muni gives up the body, and then as Lord Vishnu had told Devtas that Vishwakarma will create a bridge, thunderbolt, using Rishi Dadichi's body, and that he can use to defeat the Vritrasur. Yeah. So that's where Lord starts to go. And Nisha?
Rutrambhya dravachatru masurani kayuthapeha paryastamojasa rajan kruddho rudra ivantakam. My dear King Parikshit, as Rudra, being very angry at Antaka Yamaraja, had formerly run toward Antak to kill him, Indra angrily and with great force attacked Vṛtrāsur, who was surrounded by the leaders of the demoniac armies. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna again. Yeah. So what we just read was how Dadichi Muni, right? How Devtas and Dadichi Muni does the conversation. They talk about the religion and the religious thing, who can give a charity. And then finally Dadichi Muni, he surrenders himself, his soul, to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, and then he gives up his body for the better cause of Devtas winning over the demons, right? And then with that body, as Lord Vishnu had mentioned, Vishwakarma creates a thunderbolt, Vraj. And so what we are reading right now is the Lord Indra takes that Vraj and then attacks Vritrasur. Yeah. So that's where we are, Ajay.
ततः सुराणा मसुरै रण परम दारुणः त्रेतामुखे नर्मदायामभवत् प्रथमे युगे. Thereafter, at the end of Satyug and the beginning of Treta Yuga, a fierce battle took place between the demigods and the demons on the bank of Narmada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, he says Treta Mukhe. Yeah, that is beginning of the Treta Yuga. And when the beginning of Treta Yuga is end of Satyug. Yeah, there are 4 yugas. What are the 4 yugas?
Satyug, Treta Yuga,
Dwapar Yuga,
Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga.
Kali Yuga, right? So you have Satyug, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga and Kali Yuga. This battle which you are reading right now happened at the end of Satyug and the beginning of Treta Yuga in the Prathame Yuga. Yeah. So the Prathame Yuga is described nicely here in the purport. So let's read the purport, Ajay.
Herein the Narmada does not mean the Narmada river in India. The 5 sacred rivers in India, Ganga, Yamuna, Narmada, Kaveri and Krishna, are all celestial. Like the Ganga river, the Narmada river also flows in the higher planetary systems. The battle between the demigods and the demons took place in the higher planets. The word Prathame Yuge means in the beginning of the first millennium, that is to say, in the beginning of the Vaivasvat Manavantara. In one day of Brahma there are 14 Manus, which each live for 71 millenniums. The 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapar and Kali, constitute one millennium. We are presently in the Manvantara of Vaivasvata Manu, who is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Imah Vivastate Yogam Prakavam Aham Avyavam Vivasvan Manave Praha. We are now in the 28th millennium of Vaivasvat Manu. But this fight took place in the beginning of Manu's first millennium. One can historically calculate how long ago the battle took place, since each millennium consists of 43 million years, and we are now in the 28th millennium. Some 400,000 years have passed since the battle took place on the bank of river Narmada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so lots of facts given in this paragraph, right? So first of all, the Ganga river, like Ganga Nadi and Narmada Nadi, right? They flow in India, but they are so sacred rivers, right? They are all celestial, which means they are also flowing in the higher planetary system, right? And Devlok is one of the higher planets, as we know, right? Above us, above Bhu, Bhuva, Swaha, right? And then there are Taplok, Janlok, and Brahmalok, right? So even the Ganga Nadi and Narmada river flows there. So this battle which took place between Devtas and the demons was in the higher planets, right? Possibly Devlok. That's where the Narmada Nadi is flowing. So that's one. The second thing is mentioned is this Manuvantar is the Vaivasvat Manavantar, which means our Manu, लोग बोलते हैं हम लोग मनु की संतान है, right? So the current Manu is Vaivasvat Manu. Yeah, so you should remember that. Like our current Manu is known as Vaivasvat Manu. Now, in one day of Lord Brahma, there are 14 Manus, right? Remember, we did this. How long is one day of Lord Brahma? How long is one day of Lord Brahma? Remember?
Yeah.
4 billion
4
Yeah.
billion years.
32 million. Yeah. So 4 billion 32 million years is one day of Lord Brahma. Yeah. Now that 4 billion 32 million years is 14 Manus. Yeah. Then each Manu lives for 71 million years. Yeah. Which means in each, so first of all, one day of Lord Brahma, 14 Manus, each Manu has 71 millennium, 71 Yuga cycles. What is a Yuga cycle? Each Yuga cycle is all the 4 Yugas, and then there is some space between. So Satyug, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga, all this together is one cycle, 1 millennium. Like this, there are 71 millenniums in one Manu. Yeah, at one Manu, and then there are 14 Manus. And if you combine all, if you total it up, it will also come to 4 billion 32 million years, which is one day of Lord Brahma. Yeah. Now, also we had read before that current age of Lord Brahma, like what is the age of Lord Brahma? Is some 350 trillion years. Yeah. And this one is like we are halfway through of age of Lord Brahma actually. So we are halfway through of age of Lord Brahma. Also, we are on Vivasvat Manu. Vivasvat Manu is the 7th Manu. Yeah. So this day of Lord Brahma is also halfway through. So Vivasvat Manu is the 7th Manu. Do you remember the name of first Manu in this day? Shambhu Manu. Yeah. So Shambhu Manu is the first Manu. Now is the Vivasvat. Before that, we have the Chakshush Manu. And then like this, the names of the next 7 Manus are also mentioned. So we had read it somewhere, right? So the name of the 7 next Manus are also given. So basically, and also what is being mentioned, we are in the 28th millennium of Vivasvat Manu. So how many millenniums? Like Yuga cycles? 71, right? We are in the 20th Yuga cycle of Vivasvat Manu. The remaining Yuga cycles, yeah, like almost 43, whatever, are yet to happen. Okay. And then this fight took place, and each millennium consists of 4,300,000 years. Okay. Each millennium. So, and then after that, 71 millenniums, and then there's some space. If you total it up, it will come to, and then multiplied by 14, right? Because this is one Yuga cycle. Multiplied by 71, that is the age of one Manu. Multiply that by 14, that is the 14 Manus in one day of Lord Brahma. Yeah. So that's that's how the quantitatively everything comes together. I think we'll pause here since it's already time. But you see how everything comes together. So it is not just some numbers mentioned, but everything has the realistic quantitative numbers given to us. And that's really a lot of knowledge in Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's Ekadashi time today and tomorrow. Also Kartik month. So we will hear a nice kirtan, Radhe Radhe Govind of Kripaluji Maharaj. Yeah. So it's 5 to 6 minutes and then we'll pause.
Hare
Hello, Shri RadheGovind Bhagwan ki jai. Very beautiful kirtan, right? A nice kirtan by Kripaluji Maharaj is praised. So now I'll have a long weekend. Everyone, oh, happy Diwali, by the way.
Happy Diwali.
Diwali come up very quickly, right? Looks like. So enjoy Diwali, and then we'll see you back on the New Year's Day, Monday. Nice way to start New Year, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
See you.